कौपीनमूत्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वनवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाभ्यसितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रं यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence the Friday Atma Vichara session by listening to Bhagavan's Upadeshan. I'll be, as usual, reading from the book Self-Enquiry, Ramana Answers, Self-Enquiry 1900 to 1950, a compilation of all the question and answers given by Bhagavan on the questions put on self-inquiry, answers given by Bhagavan. The compilation has been done by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. And we have been meditating on the question and answers that have come upon Atma Vichara between 1936 to 1950. And after meditating on today's question and answer, we will have a 20 minutes Atma Vichara session. And then after that, Nandakumarji would be talking about Atma Vichara. And then finally, we will have the concluding prayers to Bhagavan. So, in continuation of the last week's question and answer, the devotee puts a question. So, we will look into the last week's question and answer and then look at this week's question and answer. The devotee asks, how is one to know the self? Bhagavan says, knowing the self means being the self. Can you say that you do not know the self? Though you cannot see your own eyes, and though not provided with a mirror to look in, do you deny the existence of your eyes? Similarly, you are aware of the self even though the self is not objectified. When you say, I cannot know the self, it means absence in terms of relative knowledge. Because you have been so accustomed to relative knowledge that you identify yourself with it. Such wrong identity has forced the difficulty of not knowing the obvious self because it cannot be objectified. And you ask, how is one to know the self? Your difficulty is centered in how, who is to know the self. Your duty is to be and not to be this or that. I am that I am sums up the whole truth. The method is summed up in be still. What does stillness mean? It means destroy yourself. Because Any form or shape is the cause of trouble. Give up the notion that I am so and so. Our scriptures declare that it shines as I. This we meditated for the last 2 weeks, and today the devotee asks a further question. I want to eliminate the non self so that the self may be realized. How shall I do it? What are the characteristics of the non self? To which Bhagavan says, there is one who says that the non self must be eliminated. Who is he? Answer given by Bhagavan for the question the devotee says that I want to eliminate the non self so that the self which alone is there shines. So, to which Bhagavan says, there is one who says that the non self must be eliminated. Who is he? As we see here, it is a very classic problem of the thief trying to become a policeman here. The thief wants to eliminate the non self and become the policeman so that the self will shine. So the thief himself is now acting as a policeman. Therefore, Bhagavan is saying, who is he? Enquire. Because if we recognize that he is a policeman, that is some other identity. That's another new identity with which we get into lot of activities of trying to find the thief. If we identify him as a thief, then as the questioner is asking, how do I eliminate him, becomes the problem. I know now that he is the thief, the questioner is the thief. So now, how do I eliminate becomes a new problem. In either which way, we are going to be driven into a continuous effort, either as a policeman to find the thief or as a thief to eliminate oneself. Therefore, both of this identity is not right. Bhagavan understands that both of this approach is not going to get the peace that we are looking. We will not be able to identify the self as I am that I am, but we will be continuously occupying with the activity of not to of the activity to be this or that. Therefore, he says very clearly, find out who is he that wants to eliminate and allow the self to shine. Only when we truly question this knower, this doer, either who wants to continuously identify himself either as a police or as a thief, as a knower or as a doer, when we really question his reality, then alone the truth will be known, that the truth is ever established. The identification with this entity who wants to be either a thief or a policeman or who wants to do, who wants to know, that is the very source of all the disturbance. This becomes very clearly visible or vividly understood by us. Therefore, Bhagavan asks us to inquire who is this guy. Now, when we do so, who is he, or when we inquire who am I, truly inquire in the spirit of it, then only we can see that whether we take this problem is only in the waking state, this problem of the thief, the police, or to transcend this thief or police is all in this, or waking, or when we can say when we have given reality to this guy. Either way, we can call it as a waking state, or whenever we have given reality to this entity who wants to know, who wants to do, or who wants to be the police, or who wants to be the thief, when we have given him the reality, accepted that it is very real, then alone this problem for us is seen. Moment we go to sleep, because of the absence of this entity, there is no question, no effort, nothing required there, isn't it? We see that it is not at all there, that entity is not at all there, the troublemaker is totally absent, and therefore there arises no question to do anything or not to do anything. Therefore, Bhagavan advises to go to what is known as a wakeful sleep. In the sense, he asks us to become conscious of this whole problem, very, very consciously become aware that this is the vicious circle that we are getting into. So we become wakeful and then sleep to this entity. Permanently no more give him any reality. Let him rise, let him come in the form of innumerable thoughts, or let him say quiet. We need not even give him any reality. Having understood that he is a very fictional entity, he is not real. Moment I attend to him, only thing that I get into is a continuous cycle of efforts, continuous cycle of knowing, not knowing, doubting, effort making. When we recognize that way, and therefore we wakefully sleep to him, which Bhagavan calls it as Jagrat Shushupti, then we see that the self alone is, without being untouched by all this phenomena, ever shining, ever full, ever peaceful. And that is the direct path. Therefore, who am I or who is he is a direct path, because any other answer we may hold on to as a result of who am I, that he is a thief or he is a police, or whichever way, we see that that is going to make us get into more actions. So not answering it, but understanding that this very questioner, if we give reality to him, one is going to be bound by more and more questions and more thoughts. When we recognize it and trace this questioner back to his source with the inquiry, who am I? Or we wakefully sleep to him, then the self, which is naturally present, rises and shines as I. This is the direct path that has been given to us by Bhagavan. So he asks, no matter how many thoughts come, whether they are good, bad, ugly, spiritual, whatever may be the nature of the thought, it has all arisen to this entity called I. So he asks us to inquire, who am I? And the moment we inquire, the I, the first and the foremost division, to whom all other thoughts are appearing, becomes available. And he asks us to further inquire, who am I? And when we trace the I thought back to its source, or when we inquire truly, what do I refer to as I within me? then the I thought and the mind is taken back to its source. And with repeated practice, Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to be at the source and let the true self, which alone is, shine by itself as I. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. For the next 20 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Morana, over to Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. I am standing in Farakka today. The topic I have selected for this evening is getting back to the process. Getting back to the process of self-inquiry. Yogas karmasu kausalam, they say that yoga is skill in action, they say. And when we hear the most skilled in the game of cricket, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, and Dhoni, towards the end of their career, when they have been asked, how did you get all these statistics built up, was the question to Dravid. And he says, I never look at the statistics. I just stick to the process. How to handle the ball, one ball at a time, is all that I do. The statistics takes care of itself. Then Sachin Tendulkar, again towards the end of his career, as a mature player, when he was asked, you know all the variations that a particular bowler can bowl to you. In fact, you know all the variations. Any of the good bowlers can bowl to you at the international level. Is that not a great advantage to you when you are playing? And Sachin Tendulkar says, no. In fact, it can be a big drawback, because all that information, if I keep getting one after another, when a bowler is coming to bowl, all that becomes a hindrance. So I deliberately put aside all those thoughts. I deliberately leave all that knowledge and just allow the intuition to take care of each ball, the process. And Captain Cool Dhoni is asked again towards the end of his career in an interview after he has retired from Test cricket, I think. He is asked, how could you keep such a cool mind even in the most tense of situations? And his response is, I have always asked myself, will it be of any use to the team if I get flustered? The last over is being bowled. A fielder lets go of a critical boundary. If I lose my cool, then the attention for the coming ball is not there. Therefore, I decide that losing the cool is of no use to the team. So I clearly keep away from getting disturbed from happenings, so that I am available for each movement as it reaches me. So each of them have developed a process, and not so strangely, it is not related to cricket anymore. It is related to their mind. It is related to who they are. And Bhagavan has given us the process, the practice of Atma Vicharam. Whatever may be the situation, whatever may be the problem we face, Bhagavan says, Atma Vicharam takes us to a plane beyond the plane of the problem seer and the problem. The duality of the seer and the seen is transcended in Atma Vicharam. Now, while doing Atma Vicharam, one is tempted to see what can be the cause for my problem. So, we should understand that the normal method of finding out the causes and removing it is not present in this process. So, causes are out. Can self-inquiry be for enlightenment? Though one is tempted to say yes, there also we come to a firm understanding that self-inquiry is not for self-realization. Self-inquiry is like drilling a mani. Mani kadai denamana manam kalle maruvara kadaya nin aruloli mevum, says Bhagavan. In Ashtakam, like one drills a hole in a bead so that it can be strung. One has to drill the hole in oneself, and from within the self, from within the process, from within the practice, not outside of it, either as a cause or an effect, the light of the self gushes out. So let us see some simple early talks where Bhagavan touches upon the practice of self-inquiry and try to gather some clues as to the practice. What better can we do this evening? Let's go to talk 13, which according to the index is one of the first references of some answer of Bhagavan in reference to self-inquiry. This is a talk, part of which is the self-inquiry. So I go to the self-inquiry part. These questions are by Mrs. M.A. Pigott, an English lady. She asks, how long will it take for one to get the master's grace? How long will it take one to get the master's grace? Bhagavan counters that with another question. He asks, why do you desire to know? Why do you desire to know? And the devotee says, to give me hope. To give me hope. One should understand that in the path of bhakti, hope and faith are critical. But Bhagavan is going to let that go and ask us to focus on the process. Even such a desire is an obstacle, says Bhagavan. So why does she like to know how long the process has to go on? Bhagavan says, why do you like to know? And she responds, to get a hope. Of course, Bhagavan says to Ramaswamy Iyer that when in a rarest of rare moments, when Ramaswamy Iyer asks, referring to the events in Jesus' life, he asks, is there hope? And Bhagavan does respond, yes, there is hope. And he responds 3 times like that. That is the Guru giving the bhakti to the devotee, the faith to the devotee. But in vichara, that itself has to be let go. Why do you desire to know? To give me hope. Even such a desire is an obstacle. The self is ever there. There is nothing without it. Be the self and the desires and doubts will disappear. Such self is the witness in sleep, dream, and waking states of existence. Did you not exist in sleep? Did you know then that you were asleep or unaware of the world? It is only in the waking state that you describe the experience of sleep as being unawareness. Therefore, consciousness when asleep is the same as that when awake. The consciousness is unchanged in sleep or waking. If you know what this waking consciousness is, you will know the consciousness which witnesses all the three states. So we begin with what we know. We know that we are in the waking state, but we don't know what is this consciousness clearly. Therefore, know what this consciousness is, what is this I in the waking state, that itself will be the knowledge of the consciousness in all the three states. If you know what this waking consciousness is, you will know the consciousness which witnesses all the three states. Such consciousness could be found by seeking the consciousness as it was in sleep. Devotee, in that case I fall asleep. Bhagavan, no harm. Devotee, it is a blank. So initially she says that she goes off to sleep. Then she says that it is not sleep yet, but in vichara she comes to a blank where the thoughts are stilled. Many of the devotees says, but what is there? There is nothing there when who am I is asked. So that is what is expressed as there is only a blank. Bhagavan, for whom is this blank? Find out. You cannot deny yourself at any time. The self is ever there and continues in all the states. Unknowingly, unconsciously, she has come to the sleep state. When in waking there is a blank, that is the sleep state brought there. But Bhagavan doesn't want us to be aware of the Sushupti having come in. He wants us to be aware of the self. Therefore, even there, he does not say that you are now aware of consciousness as in sleep. You be aware of your presence there, he says. So, when the thought-free state comes, we have brought the Sushupti here. So, in the Jagrat itself, as Dileep ji was saying, the wakeful sleep, the sleep is brought here when thoughts are removed. But even in that state, one is not now to be carried away by having brought the Sushupti here. What was supposed to be some time away, we bring it consciously to this moment. So the Jagrat and Sushupti are in union. But is that what we have to see? That two disparate states are now brought together? No. Even there, you are there, says Bhagavan. That brought together, the Jagrat Sushupti is not the Atman. There also the one perceiving the blank is the Atman. For whom is the blank? Find out. You cannot deny yourself at any time. The self is ever there and continues in all the states. Devotee, should I remain as if in sleep and be watchful at the same time? This is what Dileep ji, as part of his explanation, had brought out. He had brought out many other nice things. Should I remain as if in sleep and be watchful at the same time? Bhagavan, yes. It is usually construed that Bhagavan says no to all the answers so that the devotees or the disciples or the inquirer's mind is pushed in. Not necessary. When there is a readiness in the inquirer to subside in, then the Guru doesn't need to say no. The Guru can send the inquirer in with yes itself. That is where these Nayana Dikshas are also possible, that when the Sishya or the Sishya is ready enough, is humble enough and turned inward enough, then the Guru's Diksha is able to send with a yes itself, with the positive answer itself, with grace itself. Yes, watchfulness is the waking state. Bhagavan is describing what Dileepji had said. Watchfulness is the waking state. Therefore, the state will not be one of sleep, but sleepless sleep. In some other place, Bhagavan would say, it is waking sleep. If you go the way of your thoughts, you will be carried away by them and you will find yourself in an endless maze. This is one of the favorite quotes. Most of the quotes that you see in the Google would have been taken from some quotes in the talks or from other books. This is one of the quotes you will find. If you go the way of your thoughts, you will be carried away by them and you will find yourself in an endless maze. So what is the process? Not to get carried away by thought and end in an endless maze, but let go of thought and hold the I, which is present in waking, dream, and deep sleep. Devotee. So then, I must go back tracing the thoughts. I must go back tracing the source of thoughts. Bhagavan. Quite so. In that way, the thoughts will disappear and the self alone will remain. In fact, there is no inside or outside for the self. So, Bhagavan is removing what he said earlier. He said, go inside, turn inward, seek the I. But now he comes, even the inside and the outside are thoughts. In the consciousness, there is no inside and outside. We see this in the account of one of the devotees who comes over a period of 10 to 12 years. One, Mr. Gunaji, one of the biographers of Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba, he comes to Bhagavan in a period spread over 1937-38 to 1949. And he writes how Bhagavan takes him inward. The Upadesha is turned inward and he practices for many years of self-inquiry, comes back, one more Upadesha. Then finally he comes in 49 during Kumbhabhishekam and he says, now I am able to turn inward and I am able to even come to the state of blank consciously, that there are no thoughts, but how to abide there? How to identify with the thought-free state? Now that I have gone in and I am able to hold the thought-free state in, how to abide there? Bhagavan says, when the I am the body is gone, where is inside? Where is outside? Where is abiding? There is nothing else other than the self. If you go the way of the thoughts, you will be carried away by them and you will find yourself in an endless maze. Devotee. So then I must go back tracing the source of thoughts? Quite so. In that way, the thoughts will disappear and the self alone will remain. In fact, there is no inside or outside for the self. They are also projections of the ego. There was a question from some devotee practicing self-inquiry that how do I remain in the self all the time, or how do I have continuous time sense which is moving while abiding in the self? So one should understand that the sense of time arises from the Atma. So the way to abide in the Atma is to understand that one has to now let go of the thought of time itself. The sadhaka who has begun as one letting go of thoughts now has come to the point in the inquiry, the process, that from within the process itself, the thought of time is coming. And the way to abide timelessly or for all the time, eternally, is to erase the concept of time. The moment a concept of time comes, that means one should understand one has come into the area of seer and seen. And one should inquire, for whom is this sense of time? So there is no inside, outside, there is no past, present, future. The self is pure and absolute, says Bhagavan. Let us see one more talk number 25. Yeah. How is that self to be known or realized? So in the earlier talk, we had seen that the process is to eliminate thoughts. When we eliminate thoughts, we are bringing sushupti without losing the wakefulness of the waking state. Without losing consciousness, we are bringing in sushupti. There may be a sense of blank, but one has to continue the process. The process being, for whom is this blank? There may be a sense of inside and outside. One has to continue the process. One has to just stick with the process. Inquire. There may be a sense of time. How long is this going to take? Then one has to stick to the process. Manikadayin denamana manamenupallin maruvarakadaya nin aruloli mevu. The grace rises and shines only by sticking to the process. Simple. Whatever is objective, as Dileep ji said, since the Atma can never be an object of perception, all objects are to be dropped in self-inquiry. What we are inquiring into the self. So obviously, all objects have to be left, however big or however small. How is that self is to be realized? Bhagavan, transcend the present plane of relativity. A separate being, self, appears to know something apart from itself, the non-self. That is, the subject is aware of the object. The subject, the seer, is Drik. The object, the seen, is Drishya. There must be a unity underlying these two. There must be a unity underlying these two, subject and the object, which arises as the ego, which arises as the subject first. There must be one underlying the subject and the object, which rises as the ego. The ego is of the nature of Chit, intelligence. Achit, insentient object, is only negation of Chit. Therefore, the underlying essence is akin to the subject and not to the object. Seeing the Drik until all the Drishya disappears, the Drik will become subtler and subtler until the absolute Drik alone survives. This process is called as Drishya Vilaya, the disappearance of the objective world. So, the subject-object relationship, how to find that which is underlying these two? Of which nature is the underlying Chit? Is it of the nature of the object which is Jada, or is it of the nature of the subject which is Chaitanya? So the source must be of the nature of Chaitanya. So always hold the seer, always hold the Drik, let go of the seen. To find the Chaitanya underlying the subject and the object, hold the subject. Keep holding till all the relative objects are eliminated and only the subject alone, the real subject alone is there. Why should the objects, Drishya, be eliminated? Cannot the truth be realized even keeping the object as it is? Can we not keep the objects as it is and still realize the truth? Bhagavan, no. Elimination of Drishya means elimination of separate identities of subject and object. The object is unreal. All Drishya, including ego, is the object. Eliminating the unreal, reality survives. When a rope is mistaken for a snake, it is enough to remove the erroneous perception of the snake for the truth to be revealed. Without such elimination, the truth will not dawn. The understanding is, whenever I see myself and another, then the truth of Self alone, Atma alone is there, is not been realized. So this is false. That I am speaking to some is a false dream in which the Upadesha regarding coming out of the dream is alone meditated upon by both the seer and the seen. That is the scene we are having now. The seer and the seen, both of us are meditating on how to wake up from this dream. How to wake up? The entire dream made of subject object has to be now inquired into till the subject alone remains. So this whole thing is a snake appearance, whereas the reality is I am. The self alone is. So the relative object has to be eliminated, has to be dropped till the ego also comes up as an object and one is able to see that and let it go till the spurana rises and shines. Ahaminasha bhaji aham aham taya spurati hrut swayam parama purna sat, says Bhagavan. Ahaminasha bhaji. Just keep the process going. Keep the process going. The who am I is like a stick used to stir the funeral pyre. It will get burnt and it will completely be burnt in that fire till the Jnanagni alone remains as the Satchitananda. Ahaminasha bhaj. When the ego is completely destroyed, aham aham taya, as I, spurati hrut swayam, in the Hridayam, as the Hridayam, the Supreme Self shall rise and shine as I. The process itself, Manigadai, Denamana, Manamenum Kalle, Maruvarakadaya, Nin Aruloli Mevum. Just keep sticking to the process. Just keep sticking to the process of who am I. This Brahmastram is more than sufficient. The solution is not outside of the process. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramanaya.
Conclude with the prayer. Apara Satchit Sukhavarirashi Yasyor Vimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Namo Ramana to all.